Good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to start with the clearing houses. So, first of all, in the clearing houses, we have the topic of payment systems. Now, what we mean by payment system? Now, we know that there are two types of payment systems. Payment system means the system by which we process the payments. That means it can be either paper based payments or it can be the electronic payments, right? So now in case of paper based payments, we have the checks, we have cash, or we have some drafts, etc. But in case of paperless, that means electronic modes, we have NEFT or RTGS, like that. Next is we have clearing. The meaning of clearing: so it is what it is an arrangement through which a bank exchanges check drawn on other bank are collected by it for collections with the check which are drawn on it and sent by the other banks for collection from it. So that means clearing is what it is, just an arrangement by one bank so that the checks that are drawn on the other bank are sent and they are cleared or exchanged by the banks. Next is we have clearing house. Clearing house means it is a place where actually the process or the clearing takes place, right? So it is what it is, a place where the banks are the members of the clearing house. They meet. Why they meet? Only the members meet to exchange the checks, right? So outward clearing means what? Instruments that are deposited by customer. That means checks that are deposited by customers that are drawn on other banks that need to be presented at clearing. Inward clearing means all the paper based instruments that have to be presented at the drawer bank, either in person or by another bank in the clearing for collection. So in case of the clearing house, we have the mainly two types of clearing. One, the outward clearing, and second is inward clearing. So when we talk about the outward clearing, so here we deposit the instruments, the customers, they deposit the instruments that are drawn on other banks, right, and that are to be presented for clearing. And inward clearing means all the paper based instruments like checks, we have drafts, we have that has been already presented at the drawer bank and either in person or by another bank in clearing for collection, right? Now coming to the functions of clearing. Now in the functions of clearing, we have the clearing houses, they facilitate the exchange of instruments like checks and all. Then settlement of claims. Settlement of claims means who has to be debited, who has to be credited. Settlement with the major banks. Major banks can be, we can say, SBI, PNB, and all that nationalized banks. Settlement with the central bank. Central bank means the Reserve Bank of India. Now clearing houses, they clear and settle all the transactions, all the various types of transactions that take place, like we have the checks, we have the drafts, we have the payment orders, we have interest, warrants and dividends, etc. So here normally clearing activity is carried out by the clearing houses, and the clearing houses are appointed by the central banker, but it can be outsourced. That means the function of clearing house, clearing the checks, can be outsourced to the third party. Now these parties or these houses or these banks are appointed by whom? They are appointed by the central bank, that is the Reserve Bank of India. Now coming to the clearing process in India. First of all, in clearing process in India, a clearing process is a local process in India. So it is confined to a particular area in a particular zone, right? So for example, we talk about Bathinda. So Bathinda, if we take a zone, whatever the villages are covered in the Bathinda district, so that will be what? A particular zone. So the clearing house is a voluntary association of banks. The banks are not like we can say forced to be a member of the clearing house. They just have an option that whether they want to, whether they don't want to, where the settlement accounts are maintained. So wherever RBI, Reserve Bank of India, it has its own own office or it has a banking department, the clearing house is maintained by it. So RBI, wherever the RBI has its own office, so clearing is maintained by the RBI office. In the absence of the RBI office, only SBI is appointed as a clearing house. So now if we have clearing house in Bathinda, so all the checks all, whether it is private, whether it is public, all the checks relating to that particular area are cleared through SBI. Next is, currently in India there are about 1050 checks clearing houses in India, throughout India. So out of these clearing houses, they clear and settle all the transactions of various paper based instruments, as we have discussed earlier. So out of these, 40 of these clearing houses, check processing centers using MICR, that is magnetic ink character recognition technology, has been set up. So at 14 more clearing houses, MICR check is being processed till it is being proposed. The Reserve Bank has issued the rules and regulations regarding the bankers clearing houses, which has to be followed and adopted by all the clearing houses. Now these regulations and rules relate to the membership, sub membership, withdrawal, removal, suspension, whatever the procedures for conducting of clearing, as well as settlement of claims between members. Now coming to the clearing cycle, actually how clearing takes place. Now from the blue we will start, from the left blue we will start. Now see, here checks deposited by customers. Now firstly, check is deposited by the customer. So this is the presenting bank branch. For example, we can say the HDFC Bank branch. So credit and realization to customers account. Now what it is done is, checks deposited by customers are customer deposit the check in HDFC Bank. Now HDFC Bank is presenting the check for clearing. Now that check will be given to the clearing house. Now check is presented for clearing, then exchange and processing takes place in the clearing houses. Now if that check deposited in HDFC Bank is of SBI Bank, right, so that check will be taken by the SBI employee in its own bank, and it will be verified whether the details of the on the check are correct or not accordingly, right. So check sent to the drawee bank. Now if all the details are correct and everything is right, then what will happen? Checks sorted and sent to the branches. So checks are sent back to the branches. Now for example, there are checks which do not which are dishonored, right. So now what that will be do what we will do of that checks? Unpaid checks are returned by the drawees or the payers bank, and they are passed to the clearing houses. Now HDFC Bank, if it is having any check that is returned by the SBI Bank, so they can collect that check from the clearing house, and at the end what will happen? The unpaid checks are returned to HDFC branch, and unpaid checks are returned to the customers, and they are told about what is the problem in the check. So this is the process. Now coming to the settlement of funds. Now settlement of funds means, now settlement of funds in clearing, it occurs at different levels. Settlement of funds we can take like at the end of the day, we just see that whether HDFC Bank is having more number of checks or SBI Bank is having more number of checks. More number of checks means that whether HDFC Bank has to make the payment to SBI Bank or SBI Bank has to make the payment to HDFC Bank, right. So that is why a net settlement is arrived at the clearing house, and debit or credit position of the bank is determined. So according to that, these are booked in their current account maintained by the settling bank. So if SBI Bank has to make the payment to HDFC Bank, so what SBI Bank will be done? The SBI Bank's account will be debited and HDFC Bank's account will be credited. The process is completed only when the funds are debited from the drawer's account and credited to the payee's account. This occurs after the completion of the return clearing mentioned above. So whatever we have seen, the clearing cycle, according to that it works, right. So this was all about the chapter, that is we have discussed about the organization of a bank office. So in the next video we will be sharing some important or we will be discussing about some questions relating to this chapter. So for the time being, stay safe, stay home, stay healthy and stay indoors. Thank you.